And that was kind of that was that. But painting is something I've always done since I was very small. So and actually, the more you do, the more you end up with a job that's quite outgoing and public. It's really nice if you're essentially quite introverted, which I am, to have that other thing that you do, which is also quite, involving and time consuming.
Yeah.
But that is completely separate from other people. That's, that is nice.
Yeah. And that's what I was going to ask you next is so you started doing this other stuff. It seems like you were kind of learning as you went along, and opportunities happened and doors open. You walked through them and just kept developing and pushing yourself. But you were painting much before that. Earlier on in your life you started. And what got you into that?
Well, I remember being 4 or 5 at school, at university, at school, and I used to draw witches, so like profile, like old ladies, picture, and I was obsessed with drawing witches. Which is kind of funny because in a way that's just like a caricature, isn't it? And it's sort of so. Yeah, I'd always done that, and then always drew a lot, but it was always about faces. I did. So I live in England, and we have this. We do our A levels, which is like you're 17 and 18 years old before you finish that level of schooling, and you do like 3 of them, and they're your big subjects. And I did 4, so you can do 3 or 4, and my 4th one was arts, and I was halfway through doing that, and I got sick of drawing daffodils and peppers and shoes with the laces untied, so I dropped out of it, and stole a bunch of paints from school, and they were those weird, like, I don't know, they poster paints that are like
the ones that smell really bad.
Yeah, that's right. And I didn't know anybody else that painted. I hadn't really enjoyed, as I said, doing it at school. So I just had these paints, and I kind of really shitty paints, and I would paint all the time I was at university. I was painting. I used to draw teachers at school, and again, all caricatured stuff. And then it's funny that when you're just sort of on your own, and you've completely got your own path through something. And a friend recommended acrylics, which is now what I use. I feel like should I be using oils? Is that whole thing? But it just every now and then I'll meet somebody who just gives me some little nudge into a new direction. But yeah, I don't ever really remember not drawing. It was certainly not a thing I consciously started, and caricaturing was never. It's not like a conscious thing for me. I'm not
exactly. That's the same as me. That's exactly the same. Did you find yourself getting in trouble in school?
Yeah, completely. I think it was all part of the kind of showing off thing, which performing eventually took all that into like a valid arena, right? If you're a performer, it's okay.
Way to direct that energy.
Exactly. But yeah, I used to do caricatures of teachers. I used to impersonate teachers. I was really annoying, I think.
That's the same. That's very much like what I was like.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I got in trouble quite a bit drawing teachers, impersonating them. I was going to tell you, when you were drawing the witch thing, it's funny, like when you're younger and you I mean, for me anyways, I'm sure you can relate, but I was so obsessed with drawing. So I would go from topic to topic. So it would be like sharks, and just like my school papers would just be full of sharks. Just, that's all I would draw. And then I went through this Terminator phase where I don't remember which Terminator movie I had seen, but I just was so fascinated with the fact that there's this person, and underneath there's like this metal robot, and slowly as the movie goes on, the flesh just starts to get removed and it's hanging. And so I would just do these drawings in my paper that would just be, like it would be a person's face, but partially like hanging off and all, it was just pretty grotesque.
Yeah.
And after a while, I got brought to a school therapist, and my teachers were concerned. They something's wrong with this guy. He's really demented. And they called my parents, and my parents had to come in. And then when they finally, showed me the work that they were concerned about, I was like, oh no, those are Terminators. I tried to explain to them like they thought I was like a young serial killer or something, I'm just in the making. I was like, no. Like
that's a definite fate. Like I did that. I not Terminator so much, but that's a different. I'm older, but like knives stuck in. And I was, interesting.
Like, what's wrong with this kid?
That foreshortening of the knife. Like, what's that about? It's such those kind of weird horror. I mean, I've always loved horror films, so I suppose maybe it was. Yeah. I remember when I was probably around 6. My mum, who worked as a secretary in a business, she brought back what feels, my memory of it is this giant ream of paper. It was probably, say, 500 sheets. I remember they were yellow, and I'd never seen, like, it was such an excess of just like blank paper, and I was utterly mesmerized by it. And I remember I would just like the thought of I could just do a little scribble and then scrunch that up and throw it away was such a kind of arresting idea. And it was the best present I'd ever got. So I was like drawing, and there was a popular newspaper cartoonist at the time. I can't remember his name, which is terrible. But the cartoon strip was called Fred Bassett. It was quite popular at the time in England. It's a dog, a Basset hound called Fred. But the dad had one of those basic like cartoon noses. Let me get a Sharpie. Which, is sort of like that, right?
Okay, yeah.
It said like a kind of upside down 7. And that's for sale, by the way. And so I remember at the age of 6 seeing that shape and the kind of the sort of the foreshortening of, because sometimes you get it from the front and it would just be a line. And I remember sitting trying to work out how you draw a 3-dimensional nose at the age of 6 on paper. And I remember doing this. I remember having a pen and going like up in the air. And and I looked at it. It's like, no, that's just 2 dots. That's not it. I remember vividly at that age trying to get that sort of all that stuff right, and how exciting it was. It's all tied in with the excitement of all this paper that my mum got me. It was just amazing. Do you have intense memories of that kind of?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was literally, like I really related to when you were on James Gordon. I really related to you were saying, how did you say it? Dick Brain or Brain Dick or whatever. Dick Brain. And I thought that was hilarious because I mean, I definitely, I was not like, I wouldn't call myself an academic kid. I was just so obsessed with my art though, that's all I focused on my whole life. And I got picked on and bullied like hardcore. I was afraid to go to school. I got peed on, spit on, all kinds of fun stuff.
That was just the teachers. That was what were the kids like?
Yeah, no, it's funny that you say that is, man, it was completely a different time then because like I would go to the teachers, I would go to the principal and nobody did anything. You know what I mean? It was like one of those things where it's like, whatever. It happened in front of teachers and they didn't do anything. But I really relate to when you were talking about, even though it's joking around and being funny, but I think you made such a great point about creative types who, like where are those kids now? Like, what are they doing now? I picture them as used car salesmen somewhere in North Wisconsin. But it's like,
none of the adults with the interesting jobs, none of the artists and the creatives had the easy life at school. It just doesn't turn up at all, is it? So,
no.
Having something like, drawing or whatever is aside from just, so I was an only child until I was 9, right? So even though then obviously my brother arrived, but there's a big gap between us. So there is also that thing that if you've played on your own as a kid, if that's what you got used to, you take that, I think, into your adult life too, don't you?
For sure.
Painting, drawing, reading, writing, the things that interest me are quite solitary things. Let alone if you've been made to feel like an outsider as a kid, then you really like that becomes your identity. Like you hang on to that, you defend it when you're older. But yeah, if you don't have, the great thing about drawing at that age is that not only is it giving you something for yourself and something kind of creative, but also it's something you show and people admire, and it becomes one of those little things between you and the world that could kind of impress people. Which magic is like the quickest, most fraudulent route to doing that. I mean, it's such a childish urge.
Did you find that the drawing was sort of a superpower in a way? Because that's kind of how I always felt.
Totally, yeah.
Like I felt like even when I was being picked on, I remember like specifically, there's this one kid in one of my classes who was such a jerk to me all the time. And then he had the balls to ask me if I would draw something for him for his art class. And I was just like, what the heck? But at that time I was like, wait a minute. He respects me a little bit for the fact that he knows that I can draw well. And so it was like one of those things where it almost does in a way feel like I sometimes think like if I wasn't picked on so much, would I have turned out to be the artist that I am? But then it's sort of a catch-22 because part of the reason I feel like I didn't have any friends and I wasn't social with everybody was because I was so obsessed with drawing all the time. Yeah. So it was kind of meant to just be in this weird spot. I mean, do you relate with that at all? I mean, it's kind of.
Yeah, I was all my memory of childhood. I've never had like a group of friends. I've had friends, but never like a gang or a group. So occasionally they'd sort of come over, but not very often. I just used to sit up in my room and draw and make Lego things, and even like music. I wasn't even listening to music. It was all kind of right visual, that kind of creative stuff. So yeah, I mean, I was like very happy with that, and I never felt lonely. I mean, my mum did an interview for a TV show that was about me, and she said she thought I was probably quite lonely as a kid. And it never occurred to me that was.
You were fine that way though. That's kind of what I was trying to say is like I, as soon as I could get home and get off the bus and go to my room, I was just fine, man. I would just I'd do my homework as quick as possible and just start drawing, and that was just all I wanted to do. It was fun. And so, I mean, it's pretty much, and even with my life, the way I progressed from that point was I didn't really know what I wanted to do except for that I wanted to draw. And I just kept doing it. And then, like I said before, like doors opened and I kind of just went through them and it just kept, developing that way. Cause it's weird. I'm originally from North Wisconsin, and it's like, what are you going to do when you grow up? It's like, well, I just want to draw, but that's not really normal up there.
I think there's a lesson here. Sorry, that I think any type of success in life, this is particularly, I think, appropriate if you're creative. I think there is a magical formula for success, and the magical formula is talent plus energy. And really what that boils down to is those are the only parts of the equation that you're in control of yourself, right? You can develop your talent, obviously, but you also want to develop the energy with which you get it out there. Because if you've got all the talent but no one's seeing it, you're just drawing in your bedroom or doing whatever you do just privately, that's not going to get you very far. But if you've got all the self-promotional energy and no talent to back it up, it's not going to get you very far either. But put those two things together, and that is all you are in control of. So this is kind of a stoic move, like you separate what are you in control of and what are the things you're not in control of. And you can't control those things anyways. If you try, you're just going to make yourself anxious, right? So you kind of decide those things are fine. So with matters of success, all the other stuff, whether you get the gig or you get the phone call or this job happens or whatever, you decide is nothing to do with you. That's none of your business. Your business is developing your talent and the energy with which you get it out there. And this really holds. I remember Bryan Cranston talking about auditions, and he said, and this was before he got well known, but he said he never worked more and also never felt better about working than after he decided, my job at an audition is not to get the job. My job is to present this character in a compelling way and so on. And then, I walk away. And there's a million reasons why I may or may not get it that have nothing to do with me or why it's better suited to somebody else. He says it's like if that job that went to somebody else, it's like you found that person's wallet. You've got, oh, there, that was yours. Like it's nothing to do with you. It's for that person. And you just do your bit and the rest has nothing to do with you. And I think it really holds, particularly in sort of competitive, creative industries. It's just talent plus energy. And then to be a star in any area, it's attitude, the style and attitude that come into it, and that thing that then separates you. But I think it does hold. But so for those of us that I guess also start out early, a lot of that talent and not so much maybe professional energy, but a lot of that has got going, and then you don't have to think too much consciously about it as you go on.
Catch new episodes of Face the Truth Podcast every Monday and make sure to like and subscribe.